having seen you in concert there, he was surprised at how up you were. He's heard that your hobby is practicing the guitar there. For some reason, he also recalled Jimmy Page, how Jimmy Page just sort of slid downhill in comparison, whereas you sort of kept your chops up.
Well, yeah. I mean, I certainly intend to keep my chops up. But also, I think it's how your concentration, how much you can split your concentration between playing and understanding that people have come and there is a gap to fill, and I think in a way performing helps to fill that sort of empty gap where there's them and us. I think when you move, you show an audience that you know they're there. You're doing it for them. I'm not moving. I mean, I'm motivated by the excitement of what we're doing, but it's also in response to their interest.
So you're saying that's sort of an incentive to keep yourself in shape?
Yeah, I think an audience is a good incentive. But there again, I don't know whether we're talking. The question was double-barreled, if you like. What was the first part of it more?
Yeah, you drew the comparison with Jimmy Page first of all, so, whereas you seem to be in top form.
Yeah, I think that your personal lifestyle has an unprecedented influence on what you do, whether it's how much it's going to affect your personal life in your personal life, or in fact how much people let their personal lives affect their work role. I see the two things needing balance all the time. Attention, balance, needs looking at, because like I'm not at home now, and I've got 4 kids and a wife, and they're doing something. So that it all takes balancing. It's obviously good for me that I have them. I mean, I'm lucky to have them. In a way, I've helped create the family, but on the other hand, I've got a responsibility, to not get out of order. I don't know whether Jimmy. I mean, I know Jimmy, and I love him very much. I don't know. I don't know whether it's levels of responsibility or levels of self-control, whether the two things are the same thing, really. But self-control is important. But we're talking about something without talking about it.
Yeah.
If you really want to talk about it, we're talking about self-abuse. I don't really want to talk about self-abuse. I'd rather just look upon it as a matter of control. I put my control at a point when the guitar dominated my life almost unbearably. I then decided that I had to find where my art and my work and these things, how they fitted in with a life that was going to go on, and many facets that have nothing to do with music. So as my life broadened, I thought, well, God, I don't just want to throw the guitar out. I want to kind of build the guitar into my life, and because I'm very interested in being around, I like living, and I'm interested in mind and body control. I think the mind and body is a special relationship we all have to live with. It's like living with yourself, get to know yourself. And I think when I started doing that, it was quite good for my playing. It was good for my work, it was good for my family. So in a way, it's looking upon, maybe even it goes back to the pinhead of health, and that's one guideline. And health and happiness, I mean, it sounds pretty boring, but it's actually quite topical, because I think a lot of people aren't happy and they aren't eating well, and they don't feel like they have any control over their life. And I think if I still felt like that, I might be still in bed, and you might be one of 3 interviews still waiting for me to get up. I'm responsible, I'm reasonably clear, and that's how I like to be. It comes down to your own strength of personality. I mean, I can do anything that anybody else wants to do. It's all a matter of self-control. I could go out tonight and have a glass of wine, or I could drink a whole bottle. And it almost comes down to decisions like that. Long term, one decision like that, long term, is quite important.
So you've seen other people let this situation and let circumstances get the best of them?
Oh yeah, endless times, so often. I mean, more times like that, then I've seen people come out. You see, there's only, say, a third of all the people that I know who are still the same as they were 20 years ago. I mean, not in a bad way, but in a constructive way. They're still on their course, and they're still working at what they do, and they're still, I haven't thrown everything away one day, or chucked it in a ditch. So, in a way, that's more like the kind of stability that I have. I think I got it from my parents. They were stable. I don't think it's only a small part of it, of my life, is to do with my parents. A small part, but because everybody has the opportunity to screw up everything or make it work, and I think that's what I was intrigued with. My dream to be a guitarist wasn't just to be a guitarist; it was to be a successful guitarist. So I've got to work at that pretty much all the time. Fortunately, I'm not any good at anything else, so all I can do is write and play, and I enjoy doing those things. But obviously, like anybody, they can be a pain in the neck. You can get stuck in a studio, and it's pretty tough. Or you get on the road, it can be pretty tough. The first night in Tokyo was one of the toughest nights any of us have had for a long time. We weren't ready. We had new monitors. I could think of an hour's worth of excuses why that show was nothing like last night. Last night was an organised, precision show. Had beautiful sound. We had reverb. We had everything we wanted to do the best for the people who come to see us. The first night we had nothing that we wanted that would make us feel like we could do our best. So that was the kind of juxtaposition we had on the first night. But that's live playing. That's what you've got to come to terms with. I didn't come off stage depressed after the first night and stick a needle in my arm. I just came off saying, God, we could have done so much better. Could have had a better time, but there's tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. Conversation. If you want very short answers, just say, look.
We'll cut you off. By the way, he when he does, exactly accounted for you wanting to get back together and work with John Anderson again.
Well, it wasn't on anybody's mind until John said he came to us all and said, "Do you think it's a good time to get back together again?" And until somebody poses the question, you don't know, what ballpark you're in. And all of a sudden, I said, "Well, let's talk about it. Let's get an idea going." I had to say, yeah. It doesn't seem like a bad time, and that was really all it was. There was a feeling in John's mind that, we'd all had different experiences, and I'd been in 2 groups and gone out, done quite a lot of session work. Bill had Earthworks, and Rick had numerous solo albums and projects he'd done on me. So in a way, John's idea that he'd suddenly stopped and thought, God, what this group had done was quite substantial, and the group he was in, that funny enough that he was in, is called Yes. But that wasn't doing what John wanted to do with the kind of remembrance of what we had done before. It had become a very LA-based, not exactly corporate or commercial, but it had become not so esoteric, and it hadn't become a sort of a musical fantasy experience. It was more tough and competitive. So when John said, "You think it's a good time?" and we said, "Yeah, maybe it is. Maybe we should follow this up, John." We didn't all sort of just fall over and say yes. I think we all said, "Well, yeah." That feeling that it started something. He pushed a button. So we had to work out how to operate, because we'd lost touch with each other, except Bill and I had been in touch, because he'd been working with me on a record as yet released by myself called Turbulence, that is my forthcoming solo album, Guitar Instrumental. But John's new vision of a group at the time wasn't exclusively without prescribed, but as the collective feelings of the group evolved, we realised that we got into certain doubt areas. Going back, of course, we were concerned about certain things. A brilliant bass player as he is. And I'd say that with Tony Levin, and most probably Tony Levin would agree. But for us, Tony Levin is the right bass player. It feels right. We have the sense that this is the kind of guy we want. And he's a phenomenal, stable, independent person. Doesn't require any doctoring by us. I mean, that's what a group really is people that fit together without readjustment or rehabilitation. And that applies to us as much as it does to Chris. Maybe there's too many old buckets of water we poured over each other, but you know, to get Tony in meant that this unit, ABWH plus Levin, is quite a cohesive unit. And I wouldn't say it's the last group I'm going to be in. At one time I thought I was not be in any more groups at all after GTR. I decided really that's it, kind of thrown in the towel, as we say. But when John said that, I thought, well, if any group I'm going to be in again, maybe this is it. And now having been in this group again, I kind of see the future a little bit more, that groups in a way are special opportunities. You've got to work with a selection of people that is quite a challenge. And it's one maybe that I thought I'd grown tired of, but having got back into it, I kind of think that it's opened up my idea that this might not be the last group I'm in, because it's, the fellowship or the things that happen that you wouldn't do if you did on your own are endless. So it's actually quite inspiring.
Why had you been ready to throw in the towel like GTR?
Yeah. Not throwing the towel with music, but
with groups. Yeah.
Well, after 25 years and 7 groups, I'd really had enough. I needed 2 years without a group, definitely, to appreciate, as I do now, the value of groups. So that 2 years where I did various record projects with people, some of them unreleased as yet, and it gave me a chance to spread my wings, settle down. I spent 3 years in England, which was beautiful. I hardly went out of the country. And I'm a bit of a stick in the mud. You put me in West England and just kind of leave me for a long time. I'm quite happy. So I got that out of my system. I got that kind of rest, and also gave me a chance to, like I felt before Asia, and also many times in my life, gave me a chance to get a backlog of material back, where I could sort of pull things out and say, here's something else nobody's heard. And I've got that again, a backlog of music and ideas. But certainly, why did I come to feel like that? It wasn't only just the overall length and number of groups that I was in, but GTR became not the initial GTR, Hackett GTR, but the group that came after that was a kind of Hackettless GTR. And the troubles I met en route were such that I was quite horrified at how much trouble I actually got myself in. But that would be going too much in the personal area. Not exactly that it was personal, but it was business orientated. But the difficulties of getting everybody to like something, or everybody to like this guy, getting something even to perpetuate and get the wheels turning so that you can really stand back from it and say, well, now hang on, before you chop this tree down, look, it's got some leaves, it's got, why kill it? So there was a period of time where things were just getting too threatened. As soon as you got something really nice together, I mean, I suppose it's, in a way, it takes me back to all the disaster stories that I've got of different bits of my career when things go wrong. And I've actually met musicians who make me feel like I've had an easy ride. I meet guys who can tell me stuff that, I mean, they've just done a gig, they put the money to the manager, and the manager walks out the door and loses it, leaves it in a restaurant. I mean, everything they have is resting on that input. So the stories, I've never had that happen to me, but I've had some
pretty tough action going on around me, and that was really why it happened. So I wanted groups that would be what I would call real. I haven't been in a real group since Tomorrow in 1960, which was my main 60s group, Tomorrow, which is a psychedelic group. Spawned out of one group and led into Tomorrow, which was psychedelic. And then the early days of Yes. That period was when groups were total commitment. There was no copping out at all. You had no time off. You could never do anything else because your mind couldn't see beyond. You were too tired doing it. So that's the kind of group I kind of desire, a group that's total. But they're very hard to find now. It's a different time. Like this group, we've all got other projects. And although we are committed to this, we like this very much. It's very hard to get a group now to be committed totally to a primal project with no side thrills at all. Very difficult. And it's a shame really, because that's the kind of blood group I would call it. You know. When I hear certain records, but I know that they're on board. They listen to Hotel California. That's a group, blood group, total group, total group. You listen to the Birds. The early Birds records, like the Notorious Birds Brothers, or even earlier than that. You've got groups like the Beatles, who were really tunnel vision on their project, and there was nothing else happening in their lives at all. Most probably it destroyed part of their lives to get the group that good. People had, divorces and things, everything was swept aside for this group. And maybe, because I've seen that, that's a tall order on your life. And I think we're almost getting back to people, victims of this, the effect that this idea has on musicians, the drive that you find to be alive in a group, and it dominates your thinking. So in a way, I'm not really in a group like that now. And maybe that's what I didn't want after GTR, was a group that was trying to be a total commitment group but failing. Maybe I didn't want failure. That was a funny thing. I wouldn't want a group to go to the trouble of doing all this and then not getting the chance to prolong it. To see what's in store. One album is just one album. But I'm proud that Yes, there's 10 years of records and tours, and that was a massive project.
John Anderson did an interview with this magazine last year. I believe it was done in England. He said at the time that on his part there was a commitment to revive the old Yes concept. I guess this kind of overlaps with what we were talking about.
I can see the different angle. Before this happened, for many years before, there was a lot of whispering going on in corridors about, look, Steve, why don't you get together with the old guys? And I just said, don't need it. I don't want to. I don't want to go back. It was frightening for me to go back to something because I'm Aries, and it's hard enough for me to sort of really finish anything before I want to do something else. I'm always moving on very rapidly. So going back was very unappealing. That's why when John came back to me and said, good time to do it, it quite appealed to me that it wasn't going to be called Yes, because I knew that it wouldn't be called Yes, and even though some people in the entourage, excluding Bill Bruford and myself, actually did have a desire to call it Yes, both Bill and I were very, very pleased it wasn't, because Bill's much like me, doesn't want to go back to things. It's a dreadfully boring thing to go back to something and start rebuilding it. So this is a very fine line between what we've done and what I've just said I'm not prepared to do.
Right.
But it's fine, it's wide enough for me to be happy and say, yeah, this isn't called Yes. We can't rest on that laurel exclusively. And also, because things are possible to repeat, this is obviously going to be different. And I was intrigued enough to see how we change, or maybe we hadn't changed and it would be like it was, or how were we going to work in a new way. And I found that Bill hadn't changed much, in lots of ways Rick hadn't. And I think we thought John had changed at first, but in a way, with quite a lot of comfort, we find he's the same old John. You know? In a way, we're all we have different levels of stability that means that we can tap back and we can play close to the edge, we can play this stuff, and with quite a reverence for it, really. That, we didn't really know what we were doing much in the 70s. We were young enough to be kind of stupidly naive, which I think is a very good element in music. To believe that you're an old pro is the end of the line. Because although I am professional, I still believe, I've got other things that I've got to keep trying to do. And I think that keeping a beginner, a sense of beginning, is very, very good. It's like anything. You could let it, the artist could pick up his paint and say, this is only paint, not canvas, and I don't feel like painting. That's because he thinks he's painted everything. So if the musician feels, I've won all these accolades, I've all these gold albums, I've done it, then he should put up his boots and put his guitar away. But if you feel like I do, is that I'm going to keep changing somewhat, I'll have other opportunities come along, and that'll keep turning me on, and that's what's happened so far.
Oddly enough, we're kind of still in the dark as to why the original Yes busted up and who actually initiated that.
Well, the Yes ended officially. I think it was in January 1981, 2 months before Asia was formed. What happened was that we'd done drama, and like all Yes album titles, we were very honest about the name. Fragile was a fragile guy. Close to the edge was yet again a semi-description, sort of an overview of a lot of things, not only in our lives, what we saw. So drama was that outfit that we had there. When we ploughed across America, we did it quite nonchalantly and played Madison Square Garden. We did all these things that were very normal for Yes to do. But when we came back to play in England, it wasn't normal at all. We had a confrontation with reality, and that reality was that everything was fine while we were playing drama material. Machine Messiah was heavy and big, and it was tremendous. But any time we touched on the old material, the audience got all kind of restless, difficult, uncomfortable.
Why would that be?
Well, because Trevor had a role that he wasn't. He never thought he was going to replace John Anderson, not in his wildest dreams. And in a way, when we did drama, he didn't replace John Anderson. We were a new, revived Yes. And Trevor had many talents and much confidence. So he sung and he played and helped sort of created a new Yes. But the audience in England were rather cruel to Trevor, and they made him particularly feel unwanted, almost like we want John back kind of thing. Well, I could understand it, and Chris and I tried as best we could to help Trevor through it, encourage him, and even try some quite sort of cosmic ways of him being able to just do that a little bit better for himself. It's hard living up to anybody else, because in a way you like to be yourself, and Trevor is a highly individual person. So anyway, I've gone on about that, but I'll rush through to January 81. After the tour ended, we had our usual break, and then we met in my house, funny enough, which we didn't do very often, or have we ever done. we met at my house to talk about what the hell was going on. What was this rumour about Chris and Alan going to play with Jimmy Page, you know? And I wanted to know that, and everybody wanted to know something about the other guys. So we sat round and we talked. Well, when we got out, only Geoff and I were in the group. Geoff Downs and me. We had Yes. We could have done what we wanted with Yes. We could have got a new singer, a new bass player, a new drummer. But we'd lost everybody in the course of that conversation. Well, Phil and Chris and Alan were going to go off and play with Jimmy Page. That's what they wanted to do at that time. And that presented somewhat of a problem to the group perpetuating. Partly because Trevor felt that, in a way, he would do anything that the group were confident about him doing. But if he was going to be the lead singer, he needed a lot of support from us, because, you know, what England had just sort of done to him was undermined his confidence. So, but Trevor said, look, you know, if there's any doubt, I'm going to go off and I'm going to produce some records, because that's primarily where I'm heading. I'll produce this group, I think he said. Or we even thought, well, if Chris is leaving, we'll get Trevor to play bass, because he's got the good bass player. So we tried every which way in this discussion to find where we went. But the long and short of it was that Geoff and I had Yes when they left. We were Yes. But I was so tired of this. I found it so tiresome, yet again. Instead of being left with like 2/3 of the group, right, I was left with like 1/3 of the group. I couldn't see the rebuilding. I was going to get so much more flack now about, you know, well, is he as good as Chris? Is he as good as Alan or Bill? Is he as good as John Anderson or Trevor Horn? You know, I mean, there was a whole rebuild. So we both said, Geoff and I said, look, let's drop this, you know. Geoff had to do another Buggles record with Trevor Horn, which he only really did a very little bit on. And I said, well, I'm going to most probably do something else. And within 2 months, I'd met John Wakeman, started writing songs with him. And then later, we brought Geoff in after we had Carl Palmer. So, although it might look like Geoff and I left Yes and sort of formed Asia, it was quite different. I got together with John Wakeman, then got Carl Palmer, and then talked John and Carl into having Geoff Downs, because they sort of wanted a guitar trio. And I said, the technology now in the keyboards is so incredible that I can't even think about playing without a keyboard player. Because, you know, I just played with Geoff Downs on drama, and it was astounding what was going on. I mean, I thought it was really exciting to have all this new technology. Sampling was just starting, all the pedalboard stuff was all happening. So that was really it. There was no more Yes, because 3 people weren't doing it anymore, and that left a very big hole.
It's just mind-boggling when you're so incestuous.
Yeah.
You know why that guy Pete Frame always makes these big trees, because you all are joined together somewhere.
I know. And then Geoff Downs produced GTR, and you know, it just goes on and on. And now we are back together in this outfit with Tony Levin. Tony Levin
King Crimson,
comes back in King Crimson.
Right, exactly.
So it's a very incestuous business.
I suppose if you program this all into a computer, we could figure out what you'll all be doing in 10 years.
That's right. We could look at the odds, couldn't we? And say, well, maybe this is the good.
Like during most of the 80s, you guys who did come from that field of so-called progressive rock, you know, you're doing very well in sort of spurts, but it often seemed like you're kind of struggling. There was these sort of attempts at becoming more pop-like, you know, Asia or GTR. It never seemed like you never seemed to find a niche. Did you feel that way at the time, or do you feel that way in retrospect now? Even?
Well, I really did want to do something different after 10 years in this. I mean, I welcomed and helped to stylize, if you like, what Asia did. We didn't really, we didn't decide to become a pop group, which we're sometimes accused of, but in a way our level of progressiveness or if you like, introverted style music left us a little bit. And sure, what primarily John Wakeman was the main writer in Asia, besides my contribution and then later Geoff. But I think I don't feel that the course the direction of either of the groups was particularly wrong, only that the longevity wasn't there, the opportunity to develop that. And of course some developments go the wrong way. Like if you take the Asia Cross record, then I was very, very happy with that. It was really, it wasn't quite in the middle, but it swung about in between Listen to Wildest Dreams or some of that stuff. I mean, it's not that commercial in the sense of, it's not blatantly selling out music. It's actually quite strange music. Some of it is still a little bit strange. Keeping that strangeness in is more familiar because it's like the way, yes, I've often said decommercialising music. Purposely went out and made sure it wasn't commercial. Sure, in Asia we didn't do that. But we did take songs at face value, pound them into the ground a bit, and work them out. So yeah, my disappointment really, retrospectively, is not seeing things through, forcing things to maintain some balance. Similarly, if the third Asia album had been on it and it hadn't sounded anything like it did sound, and it had gone more, like had an opportunity to look back at the first one and say, well, look, we can get this stylized, So that was disappointment. I was actually asked to play on it when they finished it. They said, we can't hang many guitars in this, can you try? And I was willing to, but I couldn't. I couldn't see working with that music. So the same thing with GTR. When the first album was almost like it was a reasonable start, and the next album, well, we could take it better and take it further. Crisis happened again, and the opportunity, never came to fruition. And Arista, US, kind of suddenly wanted us, like anybody does, they want us to come up with something familiar. And in a way, When the Heart Rules the Mind was epitomised GTR with them, and they said, well, what about another one like that, And I'm always willing to please, but what we actually came up with was slightly different, and this undermined the project considerably. Where I didn't really get a chance to find out if we could provide the kind of niche that we were looking for, because after all, Asia and GTR were niche. There was a niche there for us. There was something missing. The 80s have been, I think, to summarise that question, is to say that the 80s, particularly the beginning of the 80s, were difficult times generally for guitar-based groups. And only so many people, and very clever some of them were, to sail through that unscathed, because there was a lot of diminishing returns coming in. There was a feeling that instead of a quantity of guitar wanted, there was sort of a minimalist. Let's have a sort of minimal guitar of this one. And that wasn't very good for me. I didn't like it. I don't think I bowed down and obeyed, but I, at the same time, felt the change in the music myself. I could see how it was harder to get my style in there. And in a way, I think I'm still at the tail end of it, because I'm still feeling that I have a bit of an overflow of music looking for outlets, as opposed to other times when you've just got enough for the next album. I don't mean that in not only unrecorded material, but actually projects that got underway and haven't yet got released. So it's been an odd time in the 80s, I think, for guitar, because of the most probably seductive nature of high-tech music. It was much like fast food. It was very easy to get hold of. It was rapidly digestible, but somewhat unmemorable. And I think junk food most probably goes out of fashion, might go out of fashion as quickly as computerized music did. Not that it hasn't got a great place in our musical lives, but the predominance that it gave us in the mid-80s was most probably, it had too much effect on us. There again, the slumps in the mechanical world, in the financial, commercial, and what I call mechanical world, also felt the pressure tremendously, that success suddenly was at any cost, prostitute anything, like dissect anything to get success. Rather in the 70s, and certainly the 60s and the 70s for me, was the success on my terms, thank you very much. I'm going to play this, and if I'm lucky, people will like it. And so I didn't swing very well when the mechanical world started imposing its pressures on me. Well, look, Steve, fit in with this. I was kind of like, hang on, I don't. And therefore I won't, sell myself down the road too much. I may have done to some extent, but I didn't want to lose sight of my own goals, which, oddly enough, before ABWH was created, I'd done this record Turbulence, which isn't released yet, which I hope will be soon, which is, me almost saying, right, this is where I am. This is what I do. This is what I think I do best. And uncompromisingly, me. And in a way, it was a good time to put my foot down. It gave me, remade my foundations in myself to say that I only want success on my terms. It's no good to me any other way. It's either short-lived, ill-fated, or it looks like it's a success, but it loses a fortune. So there's a balance where when it's right in your music, and it's right, and you're happy with it, then it works all the way around the world, not just commercially, but it works emotionally for people. I want to make records, important records, not just records in the charts. But being in the charts isn't important to me. It's not actually important. What's important is having an effect on music, being able to say that that a record is having a good effect for the people, much as paying my mortgage for another couple of years. Yeah, of course, but everybody's job pays their mortgage. But opportunity for an artist is to say that what he's doing is justifiable artistically, not just commercially. So there is a rub-off, if you like, from what the question is, where, the difficulties of the 80s may have left a few scars that I needed to repair while I was in more reclusive period in England, creating Turbulence, my guitar record, and also then the natural follow-on was to play with guys whose integrity and musical skills were already known to me. Not a place where I had to risk the gambles of being with four other people. I didn't know what they might do next. The guy might leave, he might sue me, he might go mad, or people around him might affect me, who aren't even in the band. So it's a great deal. At least I know with ABWH that we know how to work with each other. We know the perimeters. Don't tread on my toes here. Don't give me any grief here. But let's love each other. Let's love the idea of working together, and leave some of life's personal problems to yourself. In other words, be appreciative of other people by not loading them down with your problems, which I think a lot of musicians don't understand. They think that a group's a good place to vet their problems, as opposed to it isn't. You keep everything outside of it, and when you come in the group, you're clear, you're ready, you're prepared, and you're all in tune. So you can't be in tune if you're worried about somebody's wife or somebody's drug problem or somebody's, you can just go on all day about what you could bring into a group. It's negative. So, and also that's too much technology. If ABWH was a sampling, a sequenced group, in other words. We went on stage and, we could virtually turn off our amps, it would sound the same. With that kind of group, I'd accept the criticism. We're all too vulnerable and we've become too affected by the 80s. But I think we're pretty unaffected really now. Fortunately, I think, you know, taken a few wars, but I think we're stable.
He thinks you basically covered everything he was going to ask you. So
Oh, good.
A lot of the questions were eliminated there.
Great.
Spontaneously.
Right.
I guess we'll just get a few picks then. And
All right. With the going to affect your personal life in your personal life, or in fact how much people let their personal life affect their work role. I see the two things needing balance all the time. Attention, balance, needs looking at, because like I'm not at home now, you know, and I've got 4 kids and a wife, and they're doing something. So that it all takes balancing. It's obviously good for me that I have them. You know, I mean, I'm lucky to have them. In a way, I've helped create the family, but on the other hand, I've got a responsibility, you know, to not get out of order. I don't know whether Jimmy, I mean, I know Jimmy, and I love him very much. I don't know. I don't know whether it's levels of responsibility. That's why I throw the guitar out. I want to kind of build the guitar into my life, and because I'm very interested in being around. I like living, and I'm interested in mind and body control. I think the mind and body is a special relationship we all have to live with. It's like living with yourself, you know, get to know yourself. And I think when I started doing that, it was quite good for my playing. It was good for my work. It was good for my family. So in a way, it's looking upon. Maybe even it goes back to the pinhead of health. You know, and that's one guideline. And health and happiness. I mean, it sounds pretty boring, but it's actually quite topical, because I think a lot of people aren't happy and they aren't eating well.
Having seen you in concert there, he was surprised at how up you were. He's heard that your hobby is practicing the guitar there. For some reason, he also recalled Jimmy Page. How Jimmy Page just sort of slid downhill in comparison, whereas you sort of kept your chops up.
Well, yeah. I mean, I certainly intend to keep my chops up. But also, I think it's how your concentration, how much you can split your concentration between playing and understanding that people have come and there is a gap to fill, and I think in a way performing helps to fill that sort of empty gap where or levels of self-control, when the two things are the same thing really. But self-control is important, but we're talking about something without talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you really want to talk about it, we're talking about self-abuse. I don't really want to talk about self-abuse. I'd rather just look upon it as a matter of control. I put my control at a point when the guitar dominated my life almost unbearably. I then decided that I had to find where my art and my work and these things, how they fitted in with a life that was going to go on, and many facets have nothing to do with music. So as my life broadened, I thought, well, God, there's them and us. I think when you move, you show an audience that you know they're there. You're doing it for them. I'm not moving. I'm motivated by the excitement of what we're doing, but it's also in response to their interest.
So you're saying that's sort of an incentive to keep yourself in shape?
Yeah, I think an audience is a good incentive. But there again, I don't know whether we're talking the question was double-barreled, if you like. What was the first part of it more?
Yeah, you drew the comparison with Jimmy Page first of all, so, whereas
Right.
you seem to be in top form.
Yeah, I think that your personal lifestyle has an unprecedented influence on what you do, whether it's how much